this clip that I'm going to show you is from earlier with Jack Prosovic on Charlie Kirk's channel, and he's talking to his co-host. And I happened to tune in as this exchange was going on, and I think that this exchange is a wonderful warning to all of us on the right, and I think all of you should take a look at it. And I want to hear what Jake has to say. He hits me with enough to get me to react to it. I want to actually see what he has to say watching this this exchange.
And this is why. This is exactly why. And I mean, I feel bad because I would tease Charlie about it. I thought it was kind of ridiculous that something would happen. I did.
Really?
Yeah. I was just like, there's not that many people who do that. And when they do something, you know, because they're nuts, they just go and they try to, you know, they shoot up an elementary school because that's what they're like. And I was wrong. Charlie was right and I was wrong.
Now, what they're discussing here is what came up in the course of the conversation was that there had been serious and significant security threats on Charlie Kirk's life before this, which the family had been living under, and only close friends like Jack knew that this was even going on. And he wouldn't reveal the extent of those security threats. And he probably is right to not do that, as there could easily be ongoing investigations into those currently, and any linkages between those and this person who murdered him. But in the course of this discussion, what's brought up is that this co-host, I don't know who this guy is, he says, look, I actually didn't believe that this would happen to Charlie, and I would tease him about the security threat to his life. I would actually tease him about it and somewhat mock him about it. Like, oh God, you don't need that much security. People aren't going to do anything to you. You see this all the time. You're not important enough for people to do anything to, blah, 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 right? Well, now he's a believer. It's too late, right? Too late. And I just want to point this out after watching the clip, and then get your take, Jake, that this is exactly the normalcy bias that will get more conservatives killed. You need to be ever vigilant and remember that these people will you like a dog in the street and dance on your grave. And just because you have naysayers around who say things to you like, oh, you're not important enough for that, nobody cares about what you say, they do care, and they will do shit like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, I don't know, maybe I'm over psychologizing it too much or whatever, but it comes back to what I was saying before about this idea of resentment, and there's a real meaningless, like a meaning crisis going on, and a lot of these people, these sort of lunatic leftists, they have no real meaning in their life, and this is something that they attach to. They attach to the idea of leftism and trying to sort of morally grandstand as a good person because they sticking up for all of these minority communities. But these people ultimately are just losers a lot of the time, and they're trying to sort of stick themselves to this cause because it makes them a good person, it makes them important. And the idea that they can put a bullet in a guy like Charlie Kirk and then have their name remembered forever as well, I think that that's another powerful motivator for these people because it actually makes them somebody as well. And yeah, there is, I think that we have to take that factor in mind as well. And the more that these people are sort of like Tyler Robinson, you know, he hasn't admitted to it yet. He hasn't come out and said that it was him and whatever. The evidence is pretty insurmountable, but he hasn't admitted it yet. But if it does come out that he was the guy who did it, you know, 100%, his name will never be forgotten. And if this becomes a trend, then I think that we could definitely see more and more of it.
Well, what do you think about the take, though, from the co-host here, making fun of, or now in a light-spirited way? I'm not saying that he was badgering him about it or anything, but he seemed to say, you know, I would just kind of rib him about it a little bit, maybe in a good-natured way. What do you think? What do you think about the fact that there's so many people who are kind of trapped inside this normalcy bias and forget that if you're on the right and you're a political speaker, you are a target for murder?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you ever have those times when you're having a debate in your own head? I'm sure you do this all the time, where you sort of start to think about what the different sides of the coin would be. And I was having this debate in my own head today about, well, when you come out after an event like this, is there a way in which you can inflame things too much and where you can sort of sort of stoke the fire a little bit too much and say, like, this is a war, this is an ideological war? Would that be an irresponsible or a wrong thing to do right now because the tensions are so high? And I was trying to think about what the counterpoint to those would be, especially from conservatives. Well, this is what our values are, free speech and everything. But I really can't think of a good counterpoint to the fact that this is war, because they've just shown time and time again that they will do it. And I see from their point of view, if I had to try and sort of put myself into their sick, twisted heads, I can see many reasons to do that. So, I think that the co-host is just a little bit naive there, but now the chickens are coming home to roost, because it's not about owning the libs with facts and logic online anymore. It's like, this is real now, and it has been for some time, but now it's like undeniably real. Now it's inevitable.
Well, if you were a conservative doing public speaking, Jake, what would be your advice to the conservatives doing so?
Stay and have security, for sure. And I'll probably do it indoors.
Kirk was
as well.
strapped and had security.
Yeah, I'd say do indoor events. Have metal detectors at the events. But I would say it depends really. Like, some people, I would say, how much is your heart in this? Like, what do you really think about this? Is this something that you'd be willing to lay your life down for? And if you'd be willing to lay down your life for it, then keep going. But if not, then don't.
Are you going to do live events?
Yeah, definitely. In about 5 weeks' time.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately, I guess what I want to convey here is not that the gentleman Jack is talking to is a bad person, because I don't think he is. I think he was giving his friend a good-natured ribbing, and that he just suffered from the normalcy bias. The old meme, nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens, right? Well, now stuff's happening. The thing is that it's not true till it's true. In this case, normalcy bias, more than anything else, I think, led to the victimization of Kirk. Didn't lead to his assassination. That was pure left-wing ideology. But the victimization itself was led to, there was only 6 cops there, according to the FBI that I saw during the press conference. They said there were 6. A few of them were plain clothes, which means they could have been off duty for all we know. They were mostly relying on campus PD, from what I understand. His own private security team was mostly surrounding him from physical threats from the crowd. They weren't exactly running security on the rooftops around the local area. And so the thing is that all it takes is a moment of complacency, and you're dead. And you're dead. And so if you see conservatives out there and they say, look, I'm not going to do this debate, or I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, because they have serious security concerns. They won't engage with people who they think are lunatics, for instance, or they won't go and do an in-person debate with people who've called for their deaths, or called for their lunatic stalker followers to harass the creator, things like that. It's not appropriate anymore to call them cowardly and this and that, right? It's very obvious at this point that nobody's going to take their security concerns seriously except them. And it's totally appropriate right now for the right to take every precaution possible to make sure that they're not the next on the menu. And that's that. And it now needs to be that way. And by the way, when it's leftists who want to do these engagements with the right wing for these debates and things like that, they can pay for the security and then coordinate with the head of your security team to make sure that stuff like this doesn't happen. I agree. Indoor events are better, not always possible. The point of these outdoor events was to accommodate thousands of people, but the security concerns now are such that I think it's totally appropriate. If you have sicko stalkers and psychopaths and things like that, and or people like Hassan Piker who are calling for the death of conservatives, and then he wants to do a debate with you, it's like, maybe you should reevaluate that, because honestly, your life is now at risk. And the fact of the matter is that all it takes is one event for the cat to get out of the bag. I remember after the Clinton assault weapons ban, we had Columbine. 2 kids came in and viciously murdered a multitude of people in their own school. they called themselves the trench coat mafia. They dressed like goths. They came in. They were obviously fanatics with their crazy ass ideology, and they started mowing everybody down. Shortly after, that unleashed a wave of copycats who were doing the same exact thing. And because these are stories which are sensational, the media would be the first on the scene to cover it. So now insane people had a way to give a message to the world, and the world had to listen. If you think that this won't inspire copycats, you're crazy. We've seen this time and time and time again. And it's perfectly acceptable now for the right to take every precaution necessary to safeguard themselves and their families, because I have great fear at this point that that this is just the first in a series.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you. It's like, I'm not happy about saying it at all, but I have to completely agree with you there. And I really just do think that one of the reasons why people do this, like the school shootings and serial killers and stuff, is because they want to have their name known and to be recognized and to be seen as a hero and exalted. I think that there are going to be a lot of those people that do come up. So yeah, man, you're completely right. But I don't know how you feel about this last notion. I mean, we've only got a few minutes left here, but I think that Charlie Kirk, it sounds bad, but I also do think he died well in a way. He died like a noble death, standing up for what he loved and what he believed in. And yeah, it was gruesome and brutal and everything like that. But how many people can really say in the modern world that they die really, really fighting for what they believe in with courage and with faith and with conviction? Yeah.
Well, people find solace where they can when an event like this happens. I think that that Kirk deserved something much more dignified than what he got. I think that in the sense of the key of what you're saying, that he died fighting for the thing in which he believed. Sure. But to say it was dignified to do this horrific thing or dying a dignified death, that I don't agree with. And I think that that was one of the things which cut the deepest for people, is when they saw that. One of the first instincts I had, and I'm sure many people in this chat had as well, is he deserved way better than that. Deserved
Yeah.
way better than
Yep.
that. And it took away from the very ideal in the sense of the thing that we treasure, which is justice. It was completely unjust from the top down, and that's why it's so enraging.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was completely undignified and everything, but he died like it was kind of a warrior's death, and it was an honorable death in a way, if you ask me. And I know that it's a strange take to have, but I do look at that, and there is sort of like a courage and a masculine virtue in dying a warrior's death on the battlefield like that. So might not be the most appropriate take in the whole world, but I do think there is an element of that.
No, I understand, man. And
Yeah, I get what you're
listen,
saying.
there is no right way to think about this in that sense, right?
Mm.
So, like I said, people find solace where they can when horrific events like this happen. But from my angle, I think the man deserved a lot better than he got.